Hi, folks. Thanks for tuning into my video today. Um, Today, we're going to be talking about the CMMG 22 conversion kit for the AR-15. We're going to just go over the basics of how it works, what comes with the kit, and what your options are as far as the actual platform itself. Because even though it's a conversion kit that people typically run, you can also buy this as a dedicated 22. It's a very similar setup, there's very minor differences, and I'll go over it. I felt that it's simple enough to cover in the same video with the basics of this that I go ahead and just cover both. This right here is a regular AR-15, so I don't have a dedicated one. I don't really believe in having one unless you want to do one for fun, but they're definitely an option, and there's kind of some valid reasons for it. But again, gotta have a reason to have a dedicated one. So we're just going to use mine right now as an example of as a visual to show you how the basics work and what to expect from it as is. I'm also going to be doing a video going over upgrades to the system, which I think are kind of necessary, just as a bare minimum to make it run properly, flawless. Well, near flawless as you can with 22 rounds rimfire. But this video today is just going to be about the basics of the 22 conversion kit, what's required, and what you can kind of expect out of it. And the reason why I'm making this video is I had recently seen a video that somebody put out going over some misunderstandings that they had initially in dealing with this setup. Now, they had a dedicated build, but there's some reasons that they had some issues, and then I'm going to go over, and that's why I wanted to go over both dedicated and conversions, because some things that he didn't quite understand that he found out, and he put a video out as a kind of a lesson learned. This is going to be kind of a more in depth, basic, like know how of both in general. So, enough talking from me too much, and let's get into a little bit more action of showing how this works. All right, so like I said, right here I've got my AR pistol. It's a 10.5-inch standard 5.56 chambered AR. But I also run it with this conversion kit. So what you're gonna do to run it as a conversion kit in a standard AR is first you got to take out the bolt carrier group from your factory AR. Now then, that's all you're gonna need to take out from it. You're gonna use the same charging handle. The only thing that's going to come out is the bolt. It's pretty straightforward. So you just take your takedown pin down, pull out your bolt, take the conversion kit, set it in there, close it. You're done. Ready to go. So you got the action of it and everything. And this is the magazine that it uses. This is what comes with the CMMG kit. Now there are a couple other brands of kits out there. I think Right to Bear makes one. There's a few others out there. I personally have the CMMG brand one. They're all basically the same function as far as the bolt carrier group goes. Now, this right here comes in a couple options. It's 25 round typically, or it's a 10 round if you're in a restricted state. So, fortunately, where I live, I can have the full fun of 25 rounds. So, and the way it works is it just goes in like your standard magazine, and you can charge it. Now, with this, I'll show you for an example. Is on the mag real quick. See the orange tab? That is your bolt hold open when it's empty. It acts as two things. It's the feed it's the feed for the rounds. It acts as the bolt stop. I'll show you real quick. So put it in and charge it back, and there you go. So when you're done with the magazine, that's what's going to happen. However, seeing as that's part of the magazine, what happens when you drop it is the bolt drops. So every time you put the loaded magazine in like that, you're gonna have to charge it and rack one because it's gonna close on you. Um, There is some options to make it so it does function fully as your normal AR-15 would work, but I'm not gonna go over that upgrade right now on at least as far as using a AR conversion kit. Smith& Wesson does make a rifle, the AR-15-22, which is dedicated to 22s, and it runs and has the same controls as an AR-15. And that one I do believe has a last round hold open, but it's built in. Like I said, it's a dedicated 22. Um, these when you use them as a conversion kit, that's the only time it's going to hold the bolt open. With the base kit, we'll go over the upgrade, talking about how it functions like a fully regular AR with the last round hold open. But I consider that that's an upgrade. So I'm just going over the very basics of how this thing works. And to be honest, that's it. Is you throw the bolt in after you take the factory one out. Use these mags to feed the rounds in, and you're having fun with 22s out of your AR. Now, quick note I wanted to make about dedicated 22s versus a conversion kit, and there's very slight differences. Is that you build a dedicated 22, but the only difference is that your barrel does not have a gas port to feed back to cycle the bolt because it's blowback. This is a blowback system, so the barrel's not going to have that hole for the gas system. So you don't need to have a gas tube for the gun if you're having a dedicated 22. And the minor difference in the bolt itself is where this is a conversion kit, this section right here. This is made for the conversion specifically because this is the dimensions of a 223 round, and that's what goes into the factory barrel. Um, the dedicated ones, this portion right here is part of the barrel and upper uh, configuration. So you have from this portion back that you have running it in the upper right here, just like you do with this conversion kit. The only difference between the conversion and the dedicated is this section right here. So that being said, with the conversion kit, just pops in. Your buffer spring is set right up against the back of the bolt, just like that, just factoring it, and it ends like that. However, you have to run it like that, you know, because your AR, you can buy the Loft tactical folder and everything if you wanted to make it really fancy, but I don't see a point for a 22. A dedicated 22, because you're still using a standard AR lower, you have this section right here on the back for the buffer extension. Now, with the dedicated, you do not need the buffer, so you don't need the spring and the buffer itself. However, you need something here to block it off. And then there's companies that make that. Bore Buddy makes a block off plate that goes here on the back with your castle nut and everything. And they have a couple options where it has a QD on the back. We can put a QD for your sling, or a Picatinny section, so you can have a folding stock or brace, depending on whether you have a pistol or rifle. And that's because the blowback system, there's no buffer. But to be clear, if you use standard AR parts, including buffer tube, you're going to need something inside of the tube to keep the bolts up here. Because if you don't, cycling of the bolt hitting back is going to make that bolt go into the tube. Because this will operate just like a bolt. It has the same dimensions as your regular bolt carrier group right here. So when it cycles, you don't have anything in the tube and you're using stock AR parts to make your dedicated AR or 22, this is going to go this part, not this one, but obviously the 22 one is going to want to go into the tube like that. So don't leave this empty. There are companies that make a like polymer insert that you buy fairly cheap. Again, I believe Board Buddy has one if you don't wanna do the block off plate. I believe they have the polymer tube, plastic that goes in there. Literally just fills the space where the buffer tube goes. Um, Other than that, everything's the same between the 2, and that is your basic CMMG version kit, 22 conversion kit for the AR-15. Thanks again for watching this video. I'm gonna be making another one going over upgrades, which I consider technically to be necessary because there's a couple shortcomings with the stock kit, and I'll go over it with the upgrades when I do that. I just wanted to go over the basics of how this kit works, whether you're doing a dedicated build or a conversion kit, and what to expect from the functions of it. Real quick, I guess, before I forget, one thing I will consider almost necessary that you would do whether you run this thing bone stock or the upgrades that I do, in order to ensure good feeding of these mags, this lower right here is a polymer lower. Now, I do have a forged lower as well, and I do have the same issue, but one thing I found is these polymer lowers, at least on this one in particular, the mag opening is a little bigger in dimensions than my forged one. So the mag, when it goes in, it had some slop. Now, right now you can see that I've got hardly anything. Like, I mean, it's in there, like barely, like it's in there. The reason why that is because I added Velcro on the front and back, just enough strips, just right here on the center spine, and then the flat face right here. This front face doesn't really matter because it's got a flat thing, but this spine one I found worked best because that goes into the groove on in the magwell right here. But anyways, what it did is it took up that space because before it had a little more play like this. Now this has like I have to force it to get that cushion, but that Velcro, as it is, keeps it where it's at. I will say that that's almost a necessary upgrade to do to the stock mags to make it run uh, flawlessly without the wiggle. One other thing to go with the basics because you want to buy mags to have with it. Smith and Wesson mags will work in the standard AR magwell. The Smith and Wesson in 1522 magwell is a little smaller dimensionally. As you can see between the 2 magazines, right there, sorry. This one here in the back, it's cut out, and that turns into, some dimensions in let's see if I get that. A little different when it goes up into here. So what happened with what happened with these mags is when it went in, there was a ton of play. Now you'll see I've still got quite a bit of play with this, but it's better than what it was. And I found out the reason that is that cut area right here, it has very little contact with the inside the mag well. Because once it goes in, it's only up in there like half inch to an inch. So it'll always rock forward because there's just no material up in here to hold it up against the mag well, if that makes sense. There's always a little slop, so it's almost necessary with these that you have to modify them. And what I did is you have to get this additional little plastic tab. Um, I got these particular ones from AR Catch 22, I think is the company, and it's made for these. And what it does is it helps fill in that gap. And even with that, I still had to add Velcro. So I'm actually not impressed with the Smith and Wessons as far as how they fit in the magazine or in the magwell. What these do have going for them is reload and the spring. Spring is a very nice tension spring. Like it has zero issues feeding. So, 'cause, 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 ' those are the 2 things it's got going for it. However, I would almost not care about that as much because wiggle in it is way worse than with this. So, reloading is really nice with the spring right here. You can hold it as you put them down. These are kind of a pain in the butt to do with your fingers because you have to push them in, like that, and 22s, when they're a single stack coming out, they're kind of a pain in the butt to push in to load. Um, other than that, I have I don't have any issues with these mags. I don't like how they have that play. That's really my only issue with them. They are great for that. Oh, last thing with these are 25 round magazines. However, I find it a little tight with this thing being all the way down. 25 mags puts this like bottomed out, and it can kind of have issues when you're wanting to put it in the mag with it hitting the bolts because it's going to have a little tension on that. It's going to have a little bit of tension pushing down the bolt on the top bullet. And I just find with reloading it in a fresh mag, 24 in this is a little smoother running than 25. Sometimes I can even have a hard time loading 25 in this. Don't know why, but I can. Also, these mags do not work with last round hold open stock as this is. Now, I will go over the upgrade with this in the other video, and that will show. Well, it won't show because I don't own one, but I'll explain how this works with the upgrade to do the last round hold open. But I'll show you real quick. If I put this in empty, and I charge it, it closes. So to be honest, oh, and sorry, I keep going over this, but I'm just kind of doing this as I flow, kind of freestyling this. These are not cheap. These, if you get them on sale, you can get them for between, well, depending on if they're on sale, you can get them for between $30 and $40, depending on how competitive where you're buying them are. Local places sometimes can just be on the high end, so I've seen them as high as $40 in some sporting goods stores locally, but they're generally 30 to 40 bucks. These ones, if you want more of them, you can either get them from CMMG. I think they're $30. I could be off on that. I have 3 of them that came with the kit, and then I bought this one to test it, and that's all I have so far, so I don't know the price if I exactly, but I thought these were 30. These are probably cheaper. However, there is another company named Black Dog Machine that sells magazines for this kit too, and they come in this design, and they come in this design. However, this design and what the design is, it's the reload spring, which is that is really nice. I will say that is way nicer than this, but I like the fit of these better, and I like the last round hold open of these better. The Black Dog Machine ones have the functionality of the Smith and Wesson magazine with the reload spring capability, but they're this width of these ones. So you're not going to have the play like this. You're going to have this. So I would look at them for magazines because they are very competitive too. They're like, I think I've seen them as low as $20 per mag and up, depending on which ones. They have many options. Um, Outside of that, I think they're going to consider that the basics of the conversion kit. Through wanted to show the mag options because I still think you can run these in the stock setup. So I consider that a basic 101 of running this kit. So thanks again for tuning in. I hope you found this useful. If you did, you can check my other video that I'll be coming out with shortly about the upgrades. Like I said, the ones that I feel are almost necessary to really make this thing run because I had a few snags with this when I ran it as is. Ever since I got these upgrades, this thing has ran flawlessly. Thanks for tuning in again, and this is Stay Tuned Tactical, and appreciate your watching.